Hello everyone, this is Natnu, and today we're going to be talking about New Donk City, which is a Mario Party board we made for Super Mario Party, the board game expansion. More info and description. Now, I'm the lead designer behind this board, and we're here today just to, kind of talk about how this board came to be, why it functions the way it does, all that kind of stuff. First, a bit of background. Back in November of 2022, the project lead, Kuya Java, came up to me and basically said, "Hey Natno, I think we should include some custom boards with Super Mario Party, the board game expansion, just because I feel like that just really shows what you can do with this thing." So I want to include some custom boards, but and I was gonna design them, but I'm getting kind of busy. Why don't you design a board? Design a Mario Party board for us. Make it based off something iconic, like New Donk City. I don't know. You've played Odyssey, right? You can do something. Like, why don't you make a board based off New Donk City? My response was basically, I'm sorry, you want me to what? Because this is because here's the thing. Designing a Mario Party board, I mean, I thought that could be kind of interesting, but also, it had been a while since I played Odyssey, and I didn't really remember a whole lot from New Donk City itself. So I'm like, and I didn't want to just design any old board because I didn't think that would be interesting. So it's like, I don't really know what to do. I don't really know how to make a board like this. So we just kind of started talking, and that's when we had an idea. Okay, well, that's when I had an idea. Okay, well, for a little bit of context, Super Mario Party has a very weird way of doing shops, where the shops will always have the same items, no matter what. No matter how long it's passed, no matter what placement you're in, it does not matter. It will sell everyone the same set of items all the time from the same shop. However, there are cases where different shops on the board will sell different stuff. There usually are, in fact. And one of those shops, controversially, has the golden pipe in it, an item that warps you to the star. Now, having a shop that always sells golden pipe, and they're not particularly expensive either. It only costs 10 coins, which is expensive by SMP standards, but it's not really all that big of a cost considering it gets you right to where the star is. So that's one of SMP's more controversial features, that it makes these things so easy to get. We actually kind of like that they're easy-ish to get, because you now have the option. Do I run to the star immediately, or do I buy a golden pipe and get there later? Like, it gives you, like, when one thing isn't available right now, you can go for the other. It gives you options. And it's not like the golden pipes are just press button and get star now. Now, when you use the golden pipe, you warp to the star, which is important because, I mean, which is important because if the star is in a bad spot, you warp to a bad spot. Sure, you get a star, but what next? Like, you actually might want to save it for when the star is in a good spot. What's a good spot? You have to figure that out. And you could also, like, use the timing of it. You could wait for someone to move the star, or you could just wait for someone to be about to get the star and then get it right from them. Like, there's several ways to use the golden pipe. It's not a linear item. So we actually kind of like that having that there was an alternative to just running for the star, getting golden pipes. The only problem with that is that golden pipes might have still been a little too easy to get, or just the star was too hard to reach because the game kind of centered around getting golden pipes and using golden pipes. I mean, it's not uncommon that all 4 players are going to have one, and it's just a matter of who uses theirs first. So, yeah. So, but at one point, I actually randomly thought of a board design idea I had way back, which is that, okay, golden pipes are a consistent way of getting to the star. So what if there was like a way of warping around such that it wouldn't be it wouldn't be super consistent, but if you could warp around and get to the star faster than buying a pipe and then using it, then it's just then you now have the inconsistent but rewarding method of running there, or the consistent but less rewarding method of going through the pipes. I thought that could be an interesting dynamic. And so, as we were talking about New Donk City, Java mentioned that, hey, New Donk City has taxis. And so I thought, I can use taxis as warp points. And that's an idea I could make the board based around. And that's exactly what I did. I made a board based around using taxi stations as warp points. Now, this was the initial design for the board. It doesn't. It's actually very similar to the how the board is now, but it simplifies things a bit. So we're gonna use it for now. Now, these four things right here, these represent the taxi stations. I just put them at the four corners of the board. It's a square because it's a city. Cities have squares in them. Yeah. So and yeah. So I put the four taxis in the corners, and I wanted the golden pipe shot to be in the center because yeah, we know you're going towards the golden. You want golden pipes. We get it, everyone. Let's just put it in the center and design the board around it. So yeah, everything was designed around the four taxi stations and getting golden pipes in the center. Now, as you can kind of see, you move around the board like this, and because I didn't want pipes to be easy to get because they are powerful, I decided to have it so that even though it's in the center, actually getting back around there would take some time. So I had like a giant route at the bottom that you could just use that just takes some time. All right, but you could use taxis to get there quite a bit easier. This taxi is not that far before the shop, and this one isn't too far away either. This one is a bit longer, but also you pass Lakitu. So, and yeah, so that's yeah. This right side of the board, it's pretty easy to get around this right side of the board because you've got this impactful junction in the center. You can just go around everywhere here. It's not that hard, and all roads tend to move you to the right, so you tend to be here a lot. But all the rewarding stuff is on the left, so it's a game about how do you get to the left efficiently, or do you even need to go to the left? That sort of thing. Yeah. The reason for that is I didn't want the taxi stations to be equal in value because I thought that would be impossible. So I decided to each give them defined roles to play within the game. These two stations I thought would be great stations for getting off at. You could still get on them, but they were designed to be really good for getting off at because they're right next to all the powerful stuff. And the right stations, well, they were very easy to get to, so they're great stations to use in order to go other places. This one is also a good station to get off at sometimes because you got a coin-based event right here and access to the center, all kinds of nice stuff. Yeah. So yeah, that's just kind of how the general design of the board is. You got tax stations all around. You there is a route to the powerful shop, but it takes a while, and the taxis can cut time, so it encourages you to use them. And just in general, the right side is easier to get to, but the left side is more rewarding. That's kind of the design philosophy around this board. Yeah, Lactu's on the left, coin things on the right. Yeah. Oh yeah, I should probably explain how the taxis work. How it works is that at any given time, there is a taxi route in play, which shows you how to get from one end. Yeah, at any time, if you reach one of the taxis, you can pay 3 to 5 coins and get to wherever its destination is. Its destination is determined by the taxi route, and whenever you land on an event space, a new route gets drawn where the taxis take you different spots. Yeah, there's 17 possible routes. And yeah, there's a little more to it, but that's the general gist of it. It's that taxis can take you anywhere, but they only take you one place at a time. And the event spaces will shuffle which route is active at a time. All the event spaces do this. They all do the same thing. Yeah. So getting from one taxi station to the other isn't consistent, but when it's available, it's very powerful. So yeah, that's kind of how this board was made. Yeah. There was also another iteration of the board. This one is basically the same thing. I just added spaces to it. And for the most, and yeah. Some other stuff, which I'll go to the actual board to show you, is that star spaces. This board has 7 star spaces because that's usually the amount of star spaces this game has, sort of. I put one after each taxi drop off in order to encourage you to, use the taxis to get to the stars because I want the taxis to be used. Obviously, it's the board's gimmick. There's also the star space in the center so that you can use the golden pipe, warp to this star, warp to this spot, and immediately start buying more and immediately buy another pipe. I figured, hey, why not? One of them having one star spot that gives get to the shop is fine. But I put this one over here for a couple of reasons. There's not really a whole lot going on this path. I mean, there's another shop here, granted, and there's also an ally space, which I'll get back to a little bit later. But there's not really a whole lot going on, so I figured, hey, we'll give them a second star space. That there's more reason to take this path. And also, all things considered, it's not that far from the left, so you can also use your pipes to try and get to the left using it. And so, yeah, I figured this would just be a nice star spot. And then this star spot mostly exists because I didn't want them to be too close together, and this was, well, far away from the others. Yeah, that's why the star spots are where they are. And finally, there's also ally spaces. I put this ally space, I'll get back to that one in a second. And this one, this is a long path right here. I just put this ally space so it's not as soul-crushing as it looks. Same reason why this shop is here. Because this shop sells mushrooms, so you can get through this path a little faster. And lastly, this starting space. Now, I put the starting space here because because as soon as players start, they immediately have a decision to make. Do they immediately go for this ally, because starting the game off with allies can be pretty good, or do they go for the shop instead? Remember, this shop sells golden pipes, so you can either start the game with an ally or a pipe. Or, this shop also sells custom dice block, which you can use to land on this ally space consistently, albeit it takes a little longer. So you have consistent ally, inconsistent ally, or pipe. Or you could buy something and then just go down. So immediately you have a bunch of decisions to make at the start. And I thought that was a good way to, get the game running, get the game going, have players hit the ground running. Remember, Super Mario Party can go as low as 10 turns, and we wanted the game to be playable in 10 turns. So, but sometimes you can just spend 3 or 4 turns, waiting for things to... You can spend 3 or 4 turns just for the game to get going. So I didn't want that to happen. I just said, game start now. Yeah. And so that's kind of how the board works. The other spaces, there wasn't really a whole lot of thought put into them. I put the event space reshuffle routes so that you can't loop this consistently all the time, And I put bad luck spaces next to Lakitu so that it's not totally amazing. But for the most part, there wasn't really a whole lot of thought put into the space placement that's not ally spaces, just because I didn't really know what to do with that stuff. So I just kind of looked at Womp's Domino Ruins, saw what that board did with its spaces, and tried to copy that in a way. Yeah. Not Womp's Domino Ruins, sorry. King of Abon's Powder Keg Mine, because that's the board we tend to play on a lot. Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of that. As for changes during playtesting, there was one major change that happened during playtesting, which is that we found that you could pass Lakitu, and then if the taxi route was correct, go back down here and pass Lakitu again if you rolled high enough, and then take the taxi again and pass Lakitu a third time. You get the picture here. This was I didn't think this would be a super viable thing to do, because remember, this costs money and this gives you money, so you just kind of spend all of the coins you got from Lakitu into taking the taxis. Turns out it's actually really good for destroying someone else's coin count. So we decided no. There's now a rule where you cannot take the same taxi more than once in a given turn. I mean, you can still pass Lakitu, warp back, pass Lakitu again, but no, you cannot take the taxi again. That's not allowed. So yeah. I mean, there's also stuff like, in the first version of this board, this bad luck space used to be right here, which is not only 4 spaces from start, but also right before a place you need a lot of coins for. And also this red space used to be here, so that you would pass this coin event, and then land on it and lose all of those coins. So, obviously, that was very well designed. Yeah. Other than that, the board tended to be just work out. Everything just kind of worked out, and this board tended to not get very many changes in development, which is why the in development beta sketches look so similar to the final build. And lastly, and so how did it turn out and what's its impact? I mean, the whole idea of, oh, you can use warp points that you don't need golden pipes, even though they're still helpful. I mean, it kind of just worked. Pipes are harder to get. Pipes not only are harder to get, but they're not all that necessary anymore. Because if there's a good taxi route out right now, take the taxi to get the star. I mean, it just kind of works. Yeah. So golden pipes, they're still here and they're still powerful, but they're not as centralizing as they used to be, which was the entire goal of the board. Additionally, one side effect we had is that, I mean, taxis cost coins, pipes cost coins, getting the star cost coins, and well, it's a very fast-paced, high-scoring board because you're warping around the board a lot. You're just going all over the place. You're buying a lot of stars. So because you're buying more stars and you have to spend coins on taxis and all kinds of other stuff. This board you tend to spend a lot of coins on this board, which deflates the economy a bit. And I mean, Super Mario Party gives you a lot of coins, so there is definitely room for a deflated economy. If so, so it just kind of worked out. This is a very fast-paced, high-scoring board with the economies deflated, but for Super Mario Party, that works out just fine. And you could take the taxis, or get golden pipes, or do both, or do whatever is most beneficial for you at any given time. And so it just kind of worked out. I mean, this was one of the first custom boards we made, and so we didn't stray too far from the base game's mechanics. Like, these shops contain the same stuff they would in the base game Super Mario Party, and like I didn't change a whole ton of unique stuff. Like this board, also considered, it's not that special mechanic wise, but because of how everything is put together, it tends to play pretty differently from the regular boards. And so it was one of the first boards we made, and it still feels pretty nice to play. So yeah, that's just New Donk City in a nutshell. That's how New Donk City was designed, and that's why the board looks like the way it does today. Thank you for watching.